famous speaker.
Well, it's my honor to be able to introduce our good friend Jo Garner. What a remarkable woman she is. And her bio starts with a quote: "Whatever your personal priorities are, my job is to help you get the mortgage terms that will give you bragging rights when you talk about it and help you score on hitting your goals." Great quote, Jo. Jo is a mortgage officer with extensive knowledge in tailoring mortgages to her customers who are refinancing or purchasing homes all over the county. She offers conventional, FHA, VA, and other loan programs for refinancing and purchases. Jo can help you look at rent versus buy, when it makes sense to refinance, how to get the best deal on your home purchase financing. Jo Garner has been in the real estate finance business over 25 years. She got her start in Portland, Maine, where she first began her real estate career. She received her real estate education from the University of Southern Maine and was personally mentored in San Diego, California by Robert G. Allen, author of Nothing Down, Creating Wealth, and The Challenge. On moving back to West Tennessee in 1987, she went into business buying and selling discounted owner finance notes secured on real estate. In 1990, Jo went to work for a residential mortgage company and has been a mortgage loan officer for over 25 years. Her goal is to offer excellent, affordable service to her customers, tailoring the loan programs to the specific needs of her clients. In addition to her work in the mortgage field, Jo Garner is primary sponsor and founder of Talk Shoppe in Memphis, Tennessee. Jo also hosts the radio show Real Estate Mortgage Shop, airing on News Radio AM 600 WREC and iHeartRadio, with podcasts and show notes published on her www.jogarner.com. We are so fortunate to have her as our Chief Operating Officer. Take it away, Jo.
Right. Okay, well, welcome, and thank you for letting me come and let's see. Can you hear me okay? Thank you for letting me come and speak at Talk Shoppe. I'm so thrilled because there are so many changes that have been going on in the industry, the lending industry as a whole, but specifically the mortgage industry. I want to talk just briefly with you today about how those changes are affecting you and your finances, and how to predict it, play it, profit from it. So that's what we're going to cover. So put on your seat belts and your football helmet. Okay, cool. All right. So today we're going to go really fast. We're going to talk about taking advantage of change, how to predict it, how to play it, and how to profit from it. And I want to talk for a minute, take you back in time to last November, that wonderful game day when former coach Mike Norvell was coaching the Memphis Tiger football team. And they won that awesome championship game. On game day, it was not just luck, though, that created that championship win. It took a lot of strategy. Coach Norvell said during an interview after the game about his football coaching philosophy, he said, evaluation is the key to success in football. He said, evaluate your players, your coaches, evaluate your current team. He said, focus on your strengths, assess what your needs are, what fits in your system, like speed, versatility. And here's the clincher. He said, prepare and put yourself in the very best position. Control what you can control. Now that is some winning football philosophy that works in our finances every day, if we can just apply what Coach Norvell said. So I'm going to ask you this question: where are you on the field when it comes to getting where you are and getting to where you want to be? So where are you on the field in your finances? Where do you want to live? How do you want to live? Take some advice from former Memphis football coach Mike Norvell. Evaluate, focus, prepare, and put yourself in the best position. Okay, so let's talk about changes in the real estate and the mortgage industry that are going to stay with us. You know, these Zoom meetings we're doing, they're going to stay. They're going to stay for a whole lot of people. It's not going away. So get really good at maneuvering virtually. And you can go on YouTube. There's some awesome tutorials that will teach you all kinds of tips and tricks that make you more effective in your one-on-one coffees and your conversion rates with sales and prospecting virtually. Another one is working from home. Although a lot of people will go back to the workplace, a significant number of workers have discovered the joys of working at home in their pajamas. Employers have realized that some of their employees are much more productive working at home than in the office, and you're going to see that they're going to take some advantage of that. Virtual showings of real estate, and I know Pat Goldstein's in the house, so she can also speak to this, but virtual real estate showings using 360-degree technology, other types of videography and photography, is making showings very easy to do from the computer. And people are buying homes, a lot of them sight unseen right now. Others are they're not even going out to see the houses until they have viewed it virtually all the way through. Curbside closings. This is a picture of one of my, I call her one of my rock star clients, and she was afraid she wasn't going to be able to close, and the closing attorney was like, no, we'll just do it from your car, no worries. You're going to see a lot more of that. A lot of the states are trying to enact laws that will allow you to even e-sign on real estate closings, unheard of. We're going to see that. That's on the front burner, more to come on that. Let's talk real briefly about changes in the real estate and mortgage industry that are not going to stay. The low interest rates right now, because we actually, and they didn't publicize this a whole lot, but our mortgage-backed securities market crashed in March. And it was really dire. A lot of mortgage companies were having a little freak out moment, and rates were going through the sky one afternoon. They went from like, I think that back in March, they were like 4% or 3.99 on a 30-year to 5.5 within 2 hours. It was really incredible. So the Fed thought, oh, this isn't going to work. We're going to crash the whole economy. So they saddled up their cavalry, and the Federal Reserve rode in with their cavalry and bought billions of dollars a day in mortgage-backed securities to put that supply back in, so that mortgage companies could lend. Well, as a result of that and a few other things, mortgage rates dropped to like a 40 or 50-year low. And it's a great opportunity right now, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But I want to show you, there was a poll done of some of the top economic forecasters in the nation. 42% of them last week said they think that mortgage rates are going to go up. You see that on the chart. 42%, another 42% said, nope, they're not going up, they're not going down. We're going to ride this train on an even keel through the end of the year. And then there was a small percentage that said, no, actually, we think these rates are going to go lower. 17% said lower. So here's what I would say to you. Changes that are not going to stay are the low rates. They're artificially low right now because of what we just discussed. When the mortgage rates move up, your opportunities to refinance the mortgage to better terms are going to go down, obviously. And when mortgage rates move up, monthly payments to buy a home on the same loan amount today is going to be higher tomorrow. So that takes us to our next section here. How do we take advantage of change? How do we predict it? We play it, we profit from it. Well, we've seen some predictions, and we've seen kind of how, we're going to look now how people have played it and how they profited from it. I want to share with you a quick story, and I'm changing the names and just a little wee bit about the details in the story to protect the privacy of my clients. But I want to talk about Gary Guyton. And I call his story, Make Time for the Important Things. And his story always reminds me, you know what? I need to take time for the important things. You need to take time to do the important things. Evaluate where you are compared to where you want to be. Change your lifestyle, rearrange your financing structures and spending habits. That sounds hard. It doesn't take very long. Gary Guyton loved his profession. He spent a lot more than 40 hours a week working at what he loved to do. And in the past, Gary regretted being so busy that he missed very important opportunities to be a parent with his loved ones when they needed him. He also regretted missing financial opportunities because he was nose to the nose grindstone working without looking up. And how many of us can raise our hand and say, yes, I've been there. But with the help of some friends, Gary blocked out time each week to spend with his loved ones and time to really put thought into how he was spending his money. He called me not long ago and we explored some refinancing scenarios. Now this actually was about last year. By refinancing his loan of a little less than $170,000 to a 15-year term with a lower interest rate, Gary eliminated about 4.5 years off his remaining mortgage term, lowering the overall interest cost. It's saving him $40,000 over 15 years. His payment went up just a little bit, but not much. And in the past, Gary would have been too busy to take advantage of this benefit of refinancing, but he did call. And he was happy and he was feeling very good about his decision to make over $40,000 financing savings over such a short time. And today you can even do better than that. Today I've got people knocking off 10 years of their mortgage and not even paying more on their note. They're either paying the same or less. I mean, it's just like insane. So yes, take advantage of this change while it is here. I want to just kind of go back over a few more things to learn about Gary Guyton. Just like Gary Guyton, you got to take time to evaluate your income, your expenses, your budget. Are there any expenses that you can eliminate, refinance, or consolidate to free up more money that you can invest somewhere else? It's going to put your money to work for you. Can you get a lower interest rate on your mortgage? What about a lower interest rate on your car? What about a lower interest rate on your credit cards? The answer is always no, unless you ask. Please ask. Call your credit card company and just ask. It's amazing how many times the answer is yes. And you're like, well, it didn't cost you anything. You just picked up the phone. All right. Okay. So now, are you living in your forever home? If so, how can you rearrange your finances to get that home paid off early? What could you afford to do right now? Just imagine if you had no mortgage payment at all, none. What could you afford to do in your life? What would you enjoy in life that you're not enjoying today? We could maybe look at knocking 10 years off your mortgage. That's going to get you closer to that day. And if you're not living in your forever home right now, can you afford to buy your forever home today instead of tomorrow? With mortgage rates as low as they are currently, the same mortgage balance may have a payment a few $100s less per month than when you explored this avenue a few years ago. What if you could buy your forever home, though, at a bargain price as a fixer-upper and renovate it the way you want to enjoy living in it? Think about that. There are some homes that you can buy at a very reasonable price, talk to Pat Goldstein, and just update and upscale it. No instant repairs needed at all on this scenario. I want to tell you a quick story about another rock star client of mine, and I call this Mr. Fix-It takes one step at a time toward his dream home in a competitive market strategy. Meet Ricky. Ricky Gonzalez is barely out of his 20s, and he wants a shop next to his house so he can work on cars and fix stuff, things he likes to do. He wanted to be like in a particular higher priced neighborhood. His dream home was like having champagne taste on a beer budget. Ricky engages his imagination though, and he uses some ingenuity. He found a house in a neighborhood that was steadily going up in value, even though it wasn't the higher priced upscale neighborhood that he really wanted. The property though that he found had a garage. This house would not break the bank for Ricky. Ricky took action with a smart offer, and he beat out any competition to buy his house. Over time, he transformed that garage into an awesome shop by installing a workbench and later some racks for his tools. The house was going up in value too as time went on. Ricky would one day be able to launch from this home up to the more upscale, expensive neighborhood that he originally wanted, but he would be doing it step by step, not instantaneously. So it may take time, but take the first step. And I want to share with you another story about my rock star client, Barry. Now, you want an extra income? These low interest rates help keep the fixed principal and interest payment on a mortgage profitable when you purchase an investment property. It really helps that investment property be more profitable to you because of the rates right now being so low. Now, Barry had a life dream of not having to work a job, a job. And he wanted to be able to spend quality time with his wife, his children, and later his grandchildren. Before he had clearly defined, though, what he truly wanted out of life, he just found it so hard to go look for rental properties. I mean, he had to go after work. He had to wake up early on Saturday morning and go out, and it was just too much. He said, I dreaded it, Joe. He said, I just didn't feel like I could do it. It was so hard. But after a while, Barry looked back and he could see that he was getting nowhere because good rental homes and, they just don't fall in your lap. And at one point, though, Barry began to realize just how much he wanted to give his family the life of their dreams. Now he had a reason to compel him to do what he needed to do. And he finally had a big enough why to power him forward. So just to cut to the chase here on Barry, what Barry did was he got excited and he began to find organizations and people who were already doing what he wanted to do, who were already living his dream. Began to hook up with them. He got some connections. He got motivation, and he really enjoyed going out and finding these houses, doing wholesale deals and things like that, finding places to finance. Once he would find a house, then we would mastermind how to finance it. But to make a long story short, he used the mortgage as a vehicle to get him from where he was to where he wanted to go. And for him, it was like hitting a brick wall until he got a big enough why. This is why I want to do this. And that compelled him to go out and make the relationships with people, networking, that helped him propel to where he wanted to go. So, in summary, I'm going to open up for questions for a few minutes, and I appreciate you letting me be here. Let's see. There's my contact information, and I guess I would ask you this question. What do you want to accomplish with your mortgage? Give me a shout. I would love to hear your story. Let me take this off here. I would love to hear your story. And I don't know if you can see me or not now. Okay, so I'd love to hear your story, and I know you'd be one of my rock star clients. So does anybody have any questions about mortgages in general, or the changes that we're seeing? I'll open it up. Any questions?
Joe?
Yes.
We know that there have been scandals in the past, the big meltdown in 2008. And in the market today, is it pretty pure? Of course, people should come to you, but are there still bad eggs out there that have various interest rate loans? Is it still buyer beware?
That's a great question, Lynn. Not so much as it was, where they were lurking behind every alley and corner, but you still have to pay attention, especially on private money and hard money loans. Most of them don't go in to be a shark, but they're very expensive loans. They will get you a fixer-upper for cash, though. You just have to look and read the fine print. But thank you. That's a great question.
Joe, if I could comment on that, I do still run into some lenders who are less than professional, maybe is the best word to use. Whenever I can send someone to you, of course I do, but sometimes they say, oh, well, I'm pre-approved with the XYZ lender out of Ohio. And it's not that they're not good. I don't know anything about them. But if you don't have a local lender, where are you going to go when you have a problem? Whose office can you walk into and ask for help? That 1-800 number may not be answered. They also sometimes will have their originator in one place, the processor in another city, and all of the different departments are elsewhere. And so if everybody needs to come together and get things moving fast, it's not always a possibility.
That's a good point, Pat. You're in it every day as a realtor, so you would know those things.
Joe, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
People use rules of thumb sometimes to determine, is the current market rate worth me looking at refinancing my original mortgage or a HELOC second mortgage? What do you have to say to people when you think, when is it worth taking a look at what are the current interest rates versus what you currently have that might be beneficial for you to take a look at an option?
Man, that's the question of the hour, Tom. You get an A+, a gold star, and a red balloon. There are some rules of thumb that we do go by. Now, if you're just refinancing and lowering your interest rate and trying to save a few $100s per month, the first thing we're going to do is a formula that shows what your recapture time is on the closing costs. So if you're saving, $200 a month, and your closing cost was $3,000 or $4,000, like that, we're going to say 200 and 4,000. How long is it going to take you to recapture your costs that it cost you to save the $200? So that's number one. The other one is, and this is the most popular one right now, and that is people that want to get rid of 10 years off their mortgage. They have 20 years left, and they're going, they have 25 years left. They're going to a 15-year. On those, you're not going to save as much per month, Tom, but you're going to look at the next 15 years like we did on Gary Guyton. He saved $40,000 on his. We're going to say, okay, well, how much is your closing cost? And will you get your closing cost back? And how long do you plan on staying in the house? If you're not going to stay in the house 15 years, then you're not going to get the full realization of that $40,000 in payment savings. Does that make sense? So there's different formulas for different types of scenarios that you want to do. Does that answer your question? Good question. I just want to say this before we have to go here, but if I can give anybody any advice at all, whether you're buying a house or a car, that is, keep your credit scores as high as you can, because the higher your credit score, the lower your rate. And the way to keep that credit score high, it changes all the time. They have different algorithms now that they use. Like, for instance, when you go to get a credit card, they're scoring you on the Vantage score system. When you go to get a mortgage, you're being scored on a FICO Classic system. They're two different systems. Your credit score is going to be a little lower on the FICO Classic mortgage side. So make your payments on time. Everybody knows that. But if you have a credit card, never, ever, for any reason, borrow more than 30% usage on that card at any time during the month on any of the cards. Even if you have to call them up and say, hey, can you raise my credit limit? I had to do that on one of my cards. And that way you're never using more than 30% usage. And if you're going to plan on buying a house or a car in the near future, do not do a 12-month same as cash. It will kill your score. So if I can give you any advice at all, I would say that.
Hey, Joe, I got a quick question. My son bought a house in the Sacramento area, and I believe he moved in, I want to say in January or February. Is it too soon for him to consider, or is it possible that he could refi at this point? I
would not, Bill. Depending on what kind of rate he has, it really depends on the rate he has and how much he's going to save. If he's only going to save, $100 a month, I might wait it out and throw my lot in with the 17% guys over here that think that the rates are going to go down, at least for 6 months.
I'll tell you another thing. One thing I'm able to have them cases, I have a couple that pay 25% more than what their loan is. I mean, I've noticed that. It might be $50 a month. They could have a better deal than the girl first, or maybe some of the credit cards. It depends on how bad the credit cards are. And if you have one or something like that, sometimes, my goodness, the rate of return of putting an additional $500 or $250, or $50. That's $50 for 15 years every month that you're not going to pay interest on. Especially if you do it in the beginning of the loan, Mark. Now, for some people where the rate difference
is not that big, if the rate difference is not that big, we look and we compare, do exactly what you said. Instead of refinancing, just making extra payments against the principal, and we compare the side by side and say, okay, in the next 5 years, how much money would you have saved if you didn't pay closing costs to refinance, but you paid that money as prepayment to principal, versus if you paid closing costs up front here and you save this money over here. In the end of 5 years, which one is the best? And that's
Wow.
another formula, Tom.
That's a great tool. That's a great tool.
Mhm.
That's specific. Very good.
Well,
Joe,
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
what's your thoughts on reverse mortgages?
Is this Andrew?
Yes.
Andrew, most people, it doesn't work for. But if you have, that's a great question, and I just want to thank you for asking it. Most people, reverse mortgages is not the best deal for them. But if you have somebody, and I want to share a story with one of my Rockstar clients, her name is Opal Osborne. That's her avatar name, I call her. But she had her house pretty much paid off, and her husband had passed away, and she just wanted to live in her house. That was her comfort. That was her little piece of Sweden, to use her words. Her little piece of Sweden. That's all she wanted, to stay in, sit on her rocking chair on her front porch and with her cat and enjoy her home. Her son called me after one of the radio shows, and he said, Mom is in trouble here. She can no longer stay in the house by herself. My dad died, he said, and now she doesn't have his income, and the house has got some repairs. She is going to have to move out of that house unless we can find a solution for Mom. So what we did on her, she had no other assets, Andrew. There was nothing else we could change or allocate to create an income for her. So we did a reverse mortgage. She got a lump sum to fix the house and make the repairs, so it was safe for her to stay there. The mortgage company paid Miss Osborne every month instead of her having to pay a house note, which allowed her to be able to afford to have people like Mary Lou come in and help her stay at home. And so she was able to stay at home because of the reverse mortgage.
Joe, you have lots of tentacles there, girl.
I have a lot of customers that teach me every day, Mark.
Thank you.
Joe,
Thank y'all.
Joe,
Connect me at jogarner.com, and we'd love for you to join us on Real Estate Mortgage Shop on Saturday mornings, 9 o'clock, News Radio AM 600, and on your iHeart app, just search for WREC. So I just want to open the invitation you guys to call in and join us live.